June 22nd, Luhansk region, near the village of Zhitlivka, a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone spots a Russian Grad multiple rocket launcher system already positioned and shelling Ukrainian territory. Soon after, a Ukrainian kamikaze drone arrives and strikes the target. One of the crew members of the Russian rocket system managed to escape, but the equipment itself was completely destroyed. This is the Zaporizhzhia region. Kamikaze drone pilots detect and destroy enemy vehicles used by Russian forces to enter the villages of Kopani and Robotyne to reinforce their positions. Here is a piece of long-destroyed Russian equipment, now overgrown and partially buried in the ground, being used by Russian occupiers as a protective barrier. Russian infantry have set up positions there, hoping that the Ukrainian pilots of the Ronin Brigade, who are responsible for this sector of the front, won't find them. However, the pilots detected their temporary hideout and began the assault. The Russians started fleeing from the metal shelter, scattering in different directions. The Ukrainian kamikaze drone pilots realized that not all the Russians hiding there had been flushed out, so they continued striking the rusted armored vehicles. The pilots then began searching for the Russian soldiers, who had been driven out of the armored vehicles and were now trying to hide among the trees. Russian dugouts were discovered, which had been camouflaged with netting. The pilots also destroyed another combat vehicle that the Russians had positioned in a tree line. It was intended to be used in future assaults. Also in the Zaporizhzhia region, south of the city of Molochansk, Ukrainian kamikaze drone pilots managed to stop a train carrying a large number of fuel tankers filled with diesel, intended for use in Russian mechanized assaults. First, the pilots halted the train, then began striking the tankers one by one, destroying each of them. During this operation, the Russians lost a massive amount of fuel, which was simply burned by Ukrainian drone forces. Donetsk region, east of the village of Torsky. In an attempt to hide from kamikaze drones, Russian infantry have dug numerous deep shelters, also known as foxholes. These are very deep and can accommodate a large number of soldiers. Ukrainian kamikaze drone pilots attempt to destroy these shelters whenever possible. After a successful strike, Russian soldiers have very little chance of escaping such a dugout on their own. For the Russians who fail to reach their foxhole in time, their only hope is that the drone won't detonate upon impact, but such cases are extremely rare. Some of them try to outsmart the drone operator by wearing strange items, even black plastic bags. June 16th, the village of Ivano-Darivka in Donetsk region, a Russian soldier hid behind a destroyed vehicle while a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone was monitoring him, capturing his every move. At the same time, a Ukrainian kamikaze drone was already en route to the wrecked pickup and delivered its first strike on the vehicle. The Russian chose not to react and remained lying under the car. That was his mistake, because the next strike was far more precise. Another Russian soldier was later spotted. He was luckier, as the drone that landed near him failed to detonate. However, his mistake lay elsewhere. A Russian MTU-20 tank-based bridge layer was spotted by a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone in the Donetsk region. This specialized armored vehicle, built on a tank chassis, is designed for rapidly deploying temporary bridges over obstacles such as trenches, ravines, ditches, rivers, or destroyed bridges to enable the passage of vehicles and infantry. Several strikes were carried out on the vehicle, after which it was set on fire and destroyed. The pilots then began striking houses in the occupied village of Shevchenko in Donetsk region, where Russian forces were hiding and setting up their temporary hubs. Near one of the tree lines, a Zoopark counter-battery radar system was detected. A Ukrainian kamikaze drone operator approached it and struck the radar system, damaging it in the process. The pilots began tracking Russian assault troops moving on motorcycles and launched strikes against them. Ukrainian drone forces then began attacking Russian combat vehicles, including both self-propelled and towed artillery guns, which had been camouflaged in dense tree lines. They launched strikes on these positions. Destroying the barrel of an artillery piece renders it immediately inoperable, and repairing it in field conditions is impossible. Here, Russian soldiers, realizing that their camouflage had been compromised, attempt to start their self-propelled artillery system and escape, but they don't make it in time. The pilot strikes and blows it up. The hunt for Russian motorcycle groups continued. Some of the Russians attempted to shoot back, but their shots missed the target. This is archival footage of a Russian mechanized assault that took place in 2023. A Russian tank column drove into a minefield and began to explode. The column consisted of 5 tanks. 4 of them were instantly destroyed after hitting the mines, while 1 managed to escape. This attack turned into a complete failure for the Russians. They lost their advanced T-90 tanks without even reaching the front line. That's all for now, friends. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated on the latest events. This report was prepared by Hustler. See you soon.